Hello everyone, so this is a bit of a impromptu stitch with me. It is currently 7 o'clock in the morning. I have decided to stitch on Cara from Gecko Rouge, and I woke up this morning and I woke up really early. I woke up at 3 o'clock. It was very hot, couldn't sleep. So I've got a few jobs done already, and I thought, you know what, let's do a stitch with me. I haven't done a stitch with me in ages. So this chart is on 25 count fabric, and I do 2 strands, half stitch. I will apologise if it's wobbly, the actual crotch stitch, because I'm doing it on a hoop in hand. I don't have my stand out, so I'm trying to keep it in frame for you, but it's a little bit iffy at the minute. Everything is kind of all over the place at the minute, and I think that's why I just kind of want to sit down, do a really slow stitch with me. I don't have a plan of what I'm going to talk about. I just wanted to relax and do a bit of stitching. So the weather here at the minute has been pretty hot, and for some reason I always seem to do this, but I decided to stitch this week on the Lord of the Rings, the big project that I have, and it would happen to be like the hottest days that we've had for quite a while. So I've had to put that one away because I just could not work on it. It was too much fabric, too much floss, and I think I've said before, I kind of have it laid out all over me, which is lovely in the winter, but in this weather it's kind of it's tricky. If the temperature goes down a bit over the next few days, I will get it out again, but if it doesn't and it's going to stay hot, I think with that project I might have to put it away and have it as an autumn, winter and spring project and skip it when it's summertime, because it's the biggest one I have and it's just so difficult to work on. And I am not marking down any of these stitches I've just done. That's a good job. This is just one colour, so I'm just going to fill in this little square here for now. But I haven't picked this one up in quite a while. I can't remember the last time I worked on this one, actually. I really can't. It's quite nice to work on, to be fair, because the background on this one is just a block of the same colour. And I think what I want to do is follow what I have been doing up here, which is staggering the stitches, and I have a knot. So I like to stagger the stitches when it's a block of colour, because a lot of the time I will get stitch lines if I don't. When I do, so say if I'm working on a project and I want to do one page first before I move on to the next page, if I follow the page completely, you usually see a stitch line, and I don't know if it's because I hold mine too tight or if it's because I stop on the same part, like just a straight line. So yeah, we're just going to have a nice quiet stitch with me, because I feel like my day-to-day life is going at 100 miles an hour at the minute. So I'll start from a few days ago. My partner, and this is how things always seem to happen with me. So my partner came home from work one day. He works long hours, and on that day I think he finished early. I think he was in at like 4 o'clock in the morning, so he come home at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Usually he comes home quite late, but he came home, so we all managed to have tea together that night. And we were sitting in the living room, and he just uttered these like couple of words, and all he said was, "I feel like we need a change in here, you know." And that was enough for me to be like, oh, okay. And then I kind of like just went spiraling out of control with ideas. So he can never say something like that to me and me not do anything and not say anything. So we then had like a 2 or 3 hour conversation, which then resulted in us changing rooms around. I'm just going to take a sip of my drink. I've actually got an energy drink this morning. I really should not be drinking these. They are really not the best thing for me. But, yeah. I wanted something cold. So after he muttered those 2 words, well, a couple of words, not 2, I then came up with the idea of moving my craft room, which was currently in the dining room, to the living room, which is the bigger room, and him having the dining room as the living room. So swapping them over. What is up with my throat? Because what he said, when he said to me, oh, I really want to change, I was like, well, what are you thinking of? You know, what's your idea? Oh, just had to clear my throat. Yeah, I said, so what's your idea? And he was like, well, when I do long shifts at work, I would like to come home to somewhere that's like just nice and cozy, you know, somewhere, because he still does work at home, so he'll do a 12-hour shift and then he'll come home and he'll do more work, or he will play his video game or watch a TV show, but he tends to do a lot of that upstairs in the bedroom. And he said to me, I am getting really fed up with you know, going upstairs and hiding away from everybody. So I said, well, you know, you can bring like your games down here, you can bring whatever you need down here if you want to sit down here. And he said, yeah, I know I can, but, and he is right on this, the living room TV is quite small for how big the room is, and the sofas, I'm just going to mark these off because I've finished that part there, because even though this is blocked colour, I still want to, oh, I've marked that off wrong, but I still want to make sure I kind of know where I am. I think I'm going to come down a bit and work from here, because there's only 3 that need to go here. So, you know, he said he wants somewhere nice to rest when he comes home and doesn't want to hide upstairs because he wants to be with the family, but he also wants somewhere nice to sit. And I will admit, he is right. So I don't like the way our living room is. I only recently decorated this room, the living room. I think it was, you know, it must have been the beginning of the year. I was sick and tired of the way it looked. It looked really tired. So I gave it a lick of paint. I didn't really do much else to it other than change the sofas. I finally decided to get some new sofas because mine, the old ones that we had in here, were very old. The kids had ruined them. They, you know, when sofas start to sag, like the seats were starting to sag, and I didn't like sitting on them, and I found myself avoiding the room altogether because I just didn't want to sit in there. So I bought new sofas and I just gave it a lick of paint in here and called it a day. We didn't put any pictures up, we didn't do any like soft furnishings. So since then, the room has felt quite empty. There is a reason why I didn't do it though. So I did plan on doing it, and then I thought about my son. So my youngest son is homeschooled, he has autism and ADHD, and he tends to destroy everything that I do. So I'm very, very conscious of what I decorate and what I do, because I don't know what, I think somewhere along the line, I kind of got to the point where I thought, what is the point in trying to make my house look nice when I know that he's going to ruin it? And why cause myself the upset of spending a lot of money, you know, because decorating's not cheap. Furniture is not cheap. I think that's the most expensive thing that he's ruined is furniture in general. There's been holes in walls, holes in doors, furniture broken, scratched into, picked at, and he has one of his recent, I wouldn't say, well, it's been going on for about a year now, but one of his other things that he likes to do is pick things. So before I decorated the first time in here, he found a piece of paint that was like flaking on the wall, and from that piece of paint flaking, it then went to, I'm going to pick a giant hole in the wall. So we ended up with paint peeling off the walls, and I was like, oh, this really is going to need doing. You know, I can't leave it like that. He has picked gloss off of the banisters that I have in the house, like on the stairs, off skirting boards, off door frames, and I am very concerned about him catching something under his fingernails. So I don't tell him off for any of this stuff because I know it's a sensory thing, but I try and get him to pick something else. So he's got a couple of fidgety toys that he can use, or I try and distract him and say, like, let's go do something else, you know, let's, like, hey, I can see that you're getting a bit fidgety. I really would like you to not pick my walls though, so can we go do something else? What would you like to do? That type of thing. So I know it's not, he's not doing it to be mean, so I know it's not that. But when you have children that are that way inclined, you kind of just know that there's not really much point in doing all that work to be disheartened later on because you know it's going to get ruined. And I have another son as well that's the same. So my middle son is autistic. He doesn't have ADHD, but he does have autism, and he does have sensory issues where he picks things. He will chew things apart. So he likes to chew and break things into tiny little pieces. So over the years, because my older son is 16 in a couple of weeks' time. Actually, I think it's less than that. Yeah, it is. It's about a week and a half's time. So he's 16 in a week and a half's time, and the youngest one is 9. I've had a few years to kind of like know how to deal with it. But I did get to the point, I will be honest, I did get to the point where I thought, you know, what's the point? So when it came to my craft room, that was kind of like my little sanctuary where people could leave me alone. It's my stuff, you know. The kids don't really need to be in there, so nothing really got destroyed until my son was then homeschooled. Actually, no, I don't want to do that one. So when my son was homeschooled, he then had to come in there with me to work on the computer. And that resulted in the table that I gave him being picked apart. But, you know, it's his table, it stays there. So anyway, back to the living room. I didn't fill it with soft furnishings. I took out, when I painted originally, I took out the coffee table and got rid of it because it was literally falling apart. There was cuts and marks and dents and all sorts on it, paint, all sorts. So my dad told me to sand it down and just put it back in because it was solid pine. But I just decided to take it out because my son injures himself on it as well, because he runs around like, because this room's quite big, the original living room. He'll kind of run around and burn energy off, jump on the sofas, run back to one chair, run back to the other, jump on the sofas, you know. And he used to hurt himself a lot on that coffee table. It had quite sharp edges, so they weren't rounded off edges, and they were quite sharp. He used to sit on it a lot as well, so in the end I just thought, you know what, I'll get rid of it. I'll get rid of it, and I bought 2 little side tables in here instead that I could tuck, like, up the side of the walls so he wouldn't injure himself. And that seemed to be working quite well, but there's nothing in here. Like, well, there wasn't anything in here. So it didn't really feel like a living room. It didn't feel cosy. And the thing I hate the most about this room is there's a door in here. Excuse me. So we have a patio door with 2 windows. So it's not a nice sliding patio door or anything like that. It's just it looks like a back door that you would have on your house. But it's in the living room. It's very drafty. I have had to buy a massive long curtain to cover it, so it doesn't look very nice. It's difficult to cover for privacy because my house is backed onto another house, so there's another house behind me. And I just don't like having a door in the room that I'm supposed to be relaxing in. Does that make sense? Like, I hope I make some sense. Right, we need another colour, and I don't park my colours, so I am going to have to turn this around. So with this Gecko Rouge kit, I don't actually know what the colours are because they're numbered differently. So it just says I need number 5, which to me looks like 415 maybe? I don't know. I do not know. But they definitely use DMC thread, Gecko Rouge, because I'm not a fan of it, and it's very thin and spindly. So I can tell, like, straight away. I think if like they tell you that they use DMC anyway, it's just I haven't looked it up. Oh gosh, I dropped the dang thing. Oh. But they kind of, I don't know if you can see that. No, you probably can't. They just have lots of spindly dents in them when they come off the organiser, and it makes them knot up a lot easier, which is than CXC thread. I think it's one of the reasons why I like CXC so much. Also noticed that this needle is bent. So that's not good. I will have to change that. Is anyone else like me when it comes to stitching? And so say you get a bent needle. Oh, I just knocked you. Sometimes it happens, you bend your needles yourself. Especially if it's like if the needle gets stuck in the floss because it's a high confetti area or something like that. But do you change your needle straight away, or are you like me and you procrastinate and procrastinate and procrastinate until you get to the point where you literally can't stitch anymore and you think, right, okay, that's it, fine, I will go and get a new needle? Because I had a bent needle on my recent finish, the cat's one, all the way through. I started off with a bent needle, and I thought I must have picked it up from somewhere, like from my stash, and I thought, oh, this one's bent, but it'll do for now. I will change it. Never changed it until I got to the last cat on the last day of stitching that thing, where it got to the point where I couldn't thread the floss anymore because the holes... Is that one? That one's going? Because the holes where the thread went through were practically closed up, because I put my needle in my mouth when I'm looking for floss, and I think I must have bit it and shut the holes where the where the thread went. But if not, I wouldn't have changed it. I am so bad when it comes to things like that. It's like it's an apparent thing that you really need to change, and it'd take me 2 seconds to go and find another needle and switch it out. But I don't do it. So yeah, back to the living room. So my partner was saying, hey, I really think we need to change. And he is right. This room is gross. Didn't like it. And obviously I've said all that. But when I did decorate the second time and it was empty, this room still managed to get ruined. So a week after I painted in here, because I picked a nice blue in here. I don't think my partner picked any of these colours that are in here. I picked a nice blue. I was very happy with it. I decided to do some sort of like style where it was blue, but it was cream a quarter of the way down the wall. So it's 3/4 blue and 1/4 cream. That lasted for about a week before my youngest son brought in a bubble machine, and I don't mean a little bubble machine, I mean one of them full on where they spray thousands of bubbles at a time. his sister bought it for his birthday last year. I'm sure it was for his birthday last year. He decided to bring that in here and spinning around in a circle whilst blowing bubbles, which when I came in here I was like, oh, that's cute. And then I realised that they were all sticking to the wall. And afterwards they left like this watermark, like where the bubble had popped and the liquid had dripped down the wall. And it is everywhere. Because if you imagine like thousands of bubbles being popped in a room. Yeah. And I thought, oh, I better get a cloth out and wipe that. And see if I can wipe the walls down. Well, turns out I didn't buy washable paint. Turns out I bought some like chalky effect matte emulsion, which was silly of me because I always buy washable paint because I already know that, you know, you got kids, you're going to need to wipe your walls down. Nope, not me. I bought a posh blue paint that you can't wipe off the walls. So they are now ruined because I started wiping it and I was taking the blue paint with it. And I was like, oh my God, all that work. And I can't wash the walls. So I already hated this room. Like in my head, I already was annoyed that I put all that work into this room and it hadn't really done anything. If anything, it looked worse because of the bubble marks. And I just kind of thought, well, I'll do it again in another year or two, because I didn't want to touch it this year because I literally just painted at the beginning of this year. So I was like, right, okay, I'll leave it. It'll be fine. Let him wreck it as much as possible, and then I'll just redo the whole thing. So when he said that, I was like, oh yeah, that's brilliant. But he was on about having a cozy room and didn't really know how to do that in this living room. And I was saying, well, if I'm honest, I don't think this room will ever be cozy with a great big door in here, because we're limited to where we can put the furniture, because on one wall there's a radiator, on the other wall there's a door, on the other wall there's another door. So you've got your outside door and then you've got the door for the inside. On the other wall there is a chimney breast. So on every single wall in this house, in this room, there's something. So we were quite limited to where our furniture can go. And I think I've done that right. I think this is just going to be, yeah, this is just like an outline. So I managed to convince him to have the craft room as a living room, because we have another problem as well. It's not really a problem, but it's something that has bugged me since we moved in. My dog has to have a cage, so she has to be crated at night time. She was adopted from... It was basically a puppy farm. It obviously wasn't advertised as a puppy farm, but it was basically a puppy farm. And she was one of the females that they were using for birthing. So when I got her, she was supposedly 3 years old. She is a French bulldog cross with a British bulldog. And they told me that obviously they were getting rid of her due to ill health. Like the lady that couldn't have her anymore wasn't very well. But when I got her, I realised quickly that she had been used for breeding. She's got a whacking great big cesarean scar on her stomach. When I first got her, she looked like she'd just been taken away from a load of pups because her teats were like hanging on the floor. She looked like she had just stopped feeding. And she wasn't in the best of health. And then I realised when I went back on the website that I found her on that they were advertising another 15 other dogs, and so I reported them. But since having her, it's been difficult to train her to not go to the toilet in the house. So it was very, very difficult when we first got her to actually toilet train her, because she had been left outside, effectively. She was an outside dog. They literally had her in some sort of kennel or something outside. So she'd never been in the house. She'd never needed to hold her toilet. So it was very... It was very difficult to get her just to go outside normally. And we managed to get her out of that fairly quickly. I'd say within the first 4 months of having her. Once she'd relaxed, once she knew that she weren't going anywhere, she felt safe with us, you know. Have I done that right? I think I need that one there. And then I think I need 2 here. Yeah, so once she felt safe and comfortable with us, she was okay. But I never, ever, ever managed to get her out of going to the toilet in the middle of the night. For some reason, she goes to bed quite early. She's a very routine dog. She goes to bed quite early. Between 7 and 8 p.m, she's ready for bed. So before we had the cage, she would go and sit on her dog bed, snooze away, and then she would get up in the middle of the night. I'm just going to do that one down there, and then I can end this thread. And she would walk around the house and just go to the loo. She still does this during the day, actually. If I can't notice her, so she's not a dog that whines to go out. She won't tell me when she needs to go out. She will look at me. So if I'm like around the house or whatever, she'll look at me and I have to guess that she needs to go out, because if I don't, she will walk off from where I am and go and wee somewhere in the house. Now, I've had her for, gosh, how long have I had her for? 6 years, 7 years now. So I know that she needs to go out when she's looking at me. Like, she'll kind of potter around, keep looking at me, follow me, look at me, and I'm like, do you want to go out? And she don't react to that, really. Well, sometimes she does, but most of the time I have to just go to the door, open it, and wait for her to leave. But if I'm in the bath, for instance, I decide to get an early bath, you know, done some painting and decorating, whatever, and I think, oh, I'll go get in the bath. I'll come out and she'll have weed somewhere, because I wasn't there when she needed the toilet right at that second to let her out. So when we moved into this house from my old one, I bought a crate because I thought, well, I had to have ceramic tiles put down in the old house that we lived in, because of how much she was doing it in the night. She had completely ruined all the floors that we had. So downstairs I had to put ceramic tiles in. And I said to my partner, you know, I really don't want to be paying the prices that it costs for ceramic tiles again. I think we should try a cage. And I was a bit worried at first that she wouldn't act well to it. But to be fair, she actually really enjoys that cage. She sees that as like her safe space. So during the day, if she wants to go to sleep, she chooses to go in the cage more than she will her own dog bed that she's got out in the living room. When she's had enough of the cat, she'll go in there. You know, she likes the cage. But it was in an awkward place in the house, which is what I was trying to say. That was a lot of conversation to just tell you that it's in the wrong place. It's in the slap bang in the middle of the hallway where the door is, and it takes up the entire hallway. So I tried moving her before in the cage into the living room, and she hated it. Cried all night. Tried to scratch to get out of the cage, which is very unlike her because she didn't do that even the first night we put her in the cage to begin with. So I moved her back. I was like, okay, well, you clearly don't want to be in here. I thought it might be that she wants to be near the door so she can like alert us when people are here, because she does love to tell me that people are here. Like, she likes to be protective of us, you know. She's a soft dog, softest dog in the world, but she's quite protective of us, and you can tell that she's like wants to alert us that people are here and wants to do a good job. So I was like, well, maybe she just wants to be in the hallway so she feels like she's protecting us because she knows that we're upstairs in bed. So I put her back, and I left it there for a long, long time. But the problem is with her being in the hallway. I'm just trying to see where I am. I think, yeah, I need to go there. The problem is with her being in the hallway is that we have nowhere for our shoes and coats to go. So my partner has like a bajillion shoes. I have like 2 pairs compared to him, but my kids have a lot of shoes, and I do have a lot of coats, jackets, you know, that type of thing. We have a cupboard under the stairs, and it's chock-a-block with coats, and I bought like a shoe rack thing that I tried to fit in the hallway alongside the cage, and my partner hated it. It did block the hallway up, so that ended up in my craft room. So while he was talking about all this stuff, I said, you know, we could kill 2 birds with 1 stone with this decorating. We could realistically swap the rooms around, so we have the smaller room as the living room. And I don't think he was very sold on that to start with. And then I said, in doing that, we could put the dog in the craft room with me, because I won't need all the space that's in here. And that means that I can put the shoe rack in the hallway where it belongs instead of the dog. And then you get a nice cozy room. You know, you'll be closer to the TV. We can put the TV on the wall. You can have a nice dark room, because he said he wanted a dark room that he can just relax in or take a nap or like decompress from work, because he does have a very stressful job. It's very busy, fast-paced, on his feet all day, you know, so he wants somewhere he can just chill out, watch a film or something that doesn't involve being upstairs, because he always falls asleep when he goes up there, and he doesn't want to be hidden away from the family as well, if that makes sense. So he agreed to it. He was like, okay. And I said, right, well, you pick the colours then. You know, I want you to be involved, because whenever we decorate, it's always me. So I do all the decorating. I do all of the DIY. I do pretty much everything in the house to do with anything like that. He's not interested in it, and when he's not busy, when he is interested in it, he's busy, is what I was trying to say. He works far too much. If I waited for him, we would be waiting forever. So, but in order for him to feel involved, I wanted him to kind of, you know, like pick the colours and stuff. I didn't just want to do it all and then him feel like it's not what he was thinking of. So I said, okay, you pick the colours and I'll do the rest. So it went from him literally saying, I want a change, to us talking about it for hours. Then the next day going straight to B&Q, which if you're not from the UK, that's like a big hardware store that everybody knows here. And then we picked the paint. I think I need a 310. I believe this is 310. It's funny to tell in this light because it's actually still really dark, but I'm under the spotlight. Oh, I just dropped all my floss. Oh, there. Stay up there. And he made me laugh so much when he picked his paint. We went in there in B&Q and I knew he wanted a dark colour because he said, I want a nice dark colour. I was like, right, okay. So he turned like on the aisle where the paint was. He literally turned in and within 5 seconds said, I want that one. I was like, okay. I said, do you want to look around? Nope, don't want to look around. I want that one. And it was a really dark grey. So I said, okay. I sat there thinking, oh my God, that is way too dark. It's a little bit like this colour here, this background. Actually, that probably sums it up perfectly. It's this colour. So I was like, okay, but it's, you know, it's a very small room. So are you sure that you want that on every wall? Do you want like a lighter colour to balance it out a little bit on a different wall? Because if you have every wall that colour, I know you want it dark, but it's going to be like extremely dark and it will draw the room in. It will make it feel smaller than it already is. And he's like, okay, well, I'll pick that one as well then. And he just picked the first like cream off-white colour that he saw, bless him. And I was like, okay, I will work with them colours. So I am now currently decorating. So from that morning of like being in there for what seems like 5 minutes, I'm just going to mark those stitches off. I came home and started moving furniture straight away. So I can't have an idea in my head and not do it. This is what I was trying to say. I'm very, very impulsive, and it's not always a good thing. I had, like, literally, we spoke about it the night before. That morning we went and got the paint, because he even said to me, because I weren't expecting to go that day to get the paint, and he was like, come on, we're going to get paint. And I was like, oh, I didn't think you'd want to do it this early. And he was like, I know what you're like. You've got an idea in your head. It's not going to go until you've done it, so I will go and get you the paint right now. We almost went and got it the night that we were talking about it, because he was like, let's go get it now. And I was like, no, I can wait, you know, like, but he is right, I am very impulsive, and he knows that. He's been with me long enough to know what I'm like. So he was like, he knew the minute I got home from that B&Q, I was going to start moving furniture. So he said to me, right, I am off upstairs. So he didn't want to do any of it. He would have, if I'd have asked for help, he would have helped me lift things. But I ended up doing it all. I moved. So the living room was easy because there was bugger all in here. There was a sofa, a two-seater sofa, because we downsized our last sofa. Two-seater sofa, 2 armchairs, and a TV cabinet and a shelf. That was it. That was all that was in here. And I moved all that. I'm just trying to, it's getting a bit difficult to see what I'm doing now. I think I need to go down 2. And then there's a couple of stitches here. It gets tricky when you talk because you lose your concentration of what you're actually supposed to be doing. So yeah, came in, pulled everything out. The hardest part, which I did need my partner's help for, was getting my craft table into here. So I've got a couple of tables in the craft room, but one of them was a corner table and it just did not want to go round the corner, because our living room and dining and my craft room are like right next door to each other. So most of the stuff I was kind of like spinning out the door and spinning back into the next door, but this one did not want to go. So we had to take one half of it apart and then put it all back together, and that took some time. So I asked him for help with that, but the rest of it I did by myself. I focused on trying to get the living room to a place before doing anything to the craft room. So it took me a good couple of hours to get my bearings, find out what I was doing. And because when there's stuff everywhere, there's certain things that you think, right, okay, that can go in that corner, but I can't reach it at the minute because I've got a sofa in front of it. So I need to find somewhere for the sofa to go. Now, where's the sofa going to go? You know, it was taking me a while to get all this sorted out. And there was no organisation involved whatsoever. It was kind of like absolute carnage. Everything was everywhere. I didn't plan it. I didn't organise it. I didn't think, okay, when I bring this into this other room, am I going to put it in a corner? No, I just kind of shoved it in there all over the place. So I found it very difficult to figure out where things were going. I then got really overwhelmed by it all. So I done the living room. The living room was fine. As I said, there weren't much in there and it was small. We had a bit of an issue because I thought both armchairs would fit where I wanted them to, and it turns out that they don't. So that's when I started to get a bit flustered. I then had to bring one of the armchairs in here into the craft room, which is what I'm currently sitting on now. So me and him sat down for a good, because I asked him to come down and chat to me because he was upstairs doing some work. He came down and I said, because we had a bit of a disagreement about this, I was adamant, as I always am, that both armchairs would fit in that craft room. He said to me in the morning, you are not fitting both of them in there. And I was like, yes I am, watch me. They didn't fit. So when he come down, he was like, who said they wouldn't fit? And I was like, now's not the time to rub it in. Just tell me and help me and figure out what we're doing. It's not often that he's right, but when he is right, he loves to rub it in. So he was sitting there quite smug with himself for a little bit, and then we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do. Now, I think we should get a corner sofa, and that would mean that we could get rid of the armchairs completely and the two-seater and have more seating but more room at the same time, because as it stands at the minute, we've got the two-seater on one wall and one of the armchairs facing the sofa, so whoever sits there isn't going to be able to see the TV because it's on the opposite wall. It's on the same wall as the TV is going to be. So I said, you know, we really could do with a corner sofa in here. It would look perfect. He's not up for that at the minute because he said, like, we literally just bought these sofas this year and I can understand that. So I said, okay, well, we'll keep the sofas as they are for now. Maybe save up in the future. We'll get the room done and dusted first and then go from there. So we agreed on that. I was like, right, okay. Then I left that room and came into the new craft room, and I just had a wave of like feeling so overwhelmed. I think the extent of the work that I had given myself hit me in that moment. I was like, oh my God. And I cannot believe how much stuff I had in my craft room. So when I came in here, there was just stuff everywhere. And I was like, I don't remember having this much stuff. Where did it all come from? And how did I fit it in the smaller room when I'm struggling to fit it in this room? Like, it made no sense to me. I was so overwhelmed. So I text my friend, who is great. When I'm feeling like overwhelmed with things, I will text her, I'll have a rant, and she will be like quite calm, and she'll say, look, do this, or take one thing at a time, do that, etc. So she said to me, put it all in a corner and then do one bit at a time. So I was like, right, okay, well, I kind of want to do that, but I don't think I did that in the end. I think I just kind of picked one thing out and tried to find a corner for it. So I sort of took her advice, but because everything was just in the middle of the room, I found an area for my corner desk, because that was one of the biggest things that I had to move. So I found an area for that, and I think I'm going to come back up and do some of this background while I'm talking, because it's easier to do. Found a corner for that. Found a corner for the armchair that had to stay in here. Now, I think that was the thing that was getting to me the most, is I've lost a bit of space because of this armchair. And obviously I've got the dog cage in here now. So she needed a space that was comfortable and accessible and nothing was going to get in her way. Like, none of my craft stuff is going to be in her way when she needs to get in and out of the cage, or I don't want anything falling into her cage either, because I use a lot of sharp objects in here. So I wanted it to be safe. So I've put Harrison and the dog on one side of the room, and then I also put the cats, you can probably hear the dog snoring, but I also put the cats, like, bed / scratching post thing right next to the dog, because the cat really likes sleeping next to the dog. So the animals and Harrison are on one side of the room, which is where I'm sitting right now. And then I came up with the idea to make like a little island in the middle of the room, because I was saying to my partner, he came in here and he was like, wow, you've got so much room. And I was like, yeah, but I don't really know what I'm doing with all this room. I kind of had in my head like a workshop or a classroom. That's what this room kept reminding me of. And I'd said to him, I just don't want to throw everything up against the walls, because it's such a big room and I want to make the most of the space. So I got 2 of my tables that used to be stuck in corners in the other room, that I didn't actually work on. They were just like holding things, because we had 2 little alcoves in there where I managed to shove tables that I made my own corner table, basically, but with 2 small tables. So I got those 2 spare tables, put them back to back, and put them in the middle of the room, and then put around them all my little storage boxes on wheels. So that's made like a little island, and I've put my cutting mat and my diamond paint in there. Then in one corner I've got my computer, my label printer and all that for orders for Etsy. Then in the other corner I've got this chest of drawers that I had that stores most of my tools and most of my things that shouldn't be around children and things like that, like resin, blades, you know, that type of stuff. So that's all up in the corner, out the way. And I kind of feel a lot better now. I like it, but at the same time, I still don't know what I'm doing with this room, and I don't know when I'm going to be decorating it. So I'm just going to ignore it for now and get used to it how it is. I have had an issue with trying to find everything though, because I came in here yesterday to do a couple of orders, because usually over the weekend is when I get a lot of my orders for Etsy. And I want to say I had about 6 or 7 with TikTok and Etsy combined. So I needed to get them packed, I needed to get them shipped, I needed to get them booked for today, which is Monday morning. And I just couldn't find anything. So that was stressing me out. And then I went back yesterday to focus on the new living room. So yesterday I decided to paint. I did all of this grey colour. That took me all day. So he wants that on two walls. And I started getting myself stressed out because I started playing chicken with the paint. We only bought 1 tub of each, which I thought would be enough. And it turns out it was just enough for 2 walls because I needed to do 4 coats. My craft room before I painted that was pink. Chubbs, you seem to be getting louder and louder. Chubbs, are you awake? Your eyes are wide open, yet you snore like you're fast asleep. Yeah, so the walls were pink when I was in there. And for some reason, that grey did not want to cover it properly. I kept seeing bits coming through, so I had to do it 4 times. And it took all day. I was sweaty and boiling by the end of it. I was absolutely shattered. Then I had a whole house to clean. Because I think that's what's getting to me the most. If I was like my partner, where I was able to go to work and then come home and do nothing, I think I would be okay. But it's the, okay, I've got all this stuff to do, but then I've also got kids to take care of, pets to take care of, jobs in the house to take care of, bills to take care of, you know, appointments to take care of, my Etsy shop to take care of, my social media to take care of, my other family members, you know, like my daughter's messaging me. My daughter, yesterday, bless her little heart, she went to town on the bus with the baby from where she lives. She's a bit far out from anything there, so she relies on the bus. First of all, she missed the first bus, and then the second time, she got on the wrong bus home and ended up 40 minutes away from where she lived. So she was ringing me in a panic. Ended up in such and such, I'm stuck, and then I was panicking. But thankfully, she didn't panic too much, and we managed to get it sorted. Well, she did. I didn't have anything to do with it. She actually managed to phone her partner's granddad while I was trying to get hold of her. She was on the phone to him because she sent me a text with this, so I was panicking that I couldn't get hold of her. And then when I rang her back, she was like, "Oh, it's sorted now. I've got a lift." And I was like, "Thank God for that." So she gave me a little heart attack yesterday. But it's all these little things that I think when you're a housewife, other people take for granted. I know that obviously I do have extra things in terms of Etsy, in terms of YouTube, in terms of social media, etc., etc. That takes up all my spare time. But even without that, it's a lot of work, an awful lot of work, and I generally do think a lot of people don't realise how much work it is. I mean, I'm really lucky in the fact that my partner understands. And my throat, let me just grab a drink. So he's really good at understanding, and he always says to me, you know, I don't think I could do your job. I would rather go to work, come home. You know, I wouldn't want to be a housewife like you. I generally don't think I could do it. You have the hardest job of both of us, which sometimes I agree and sometimes I don't, because I know sometimes he does have absolutely crazy days and sometimes I don't do much during the day. So, you know, you kind of have to share the load, if anything. And I think we've got to a point where we're pretty good at that. He knows if I've had a really rough day or a really rough week, he will help me out. So he will get up and he will clean and he will do things on his day off, which I do appreciate. Sometimes I have had to say to him, you know, look, can you help? Other times he's done it off his own back, which I much prefer because I hate asking for things like that. There was a point a couple of weeks ago where I kind of lost the plot. I think I was a bit emotional that day, and I was like, I think we were in the middle of Tesco's or something, and Harrison, my youngest, was playing up. He didn't want to be there, and he was just... I have to be on like high alert with him when we go out, because when he's in one of his moods, he will shout and scream at random people, and it's usually other children. He's got an issue with other children staring at him. So when he's in a bad mood, he will flip and he will just randomly shout at people, and it's scary for the other person. It's not nice for them. It's not nice for him because then he gets told off. It's not nice for me. It's not nice for everyone. So I was worried about him, trying to get around the shop as quick as possible, trying to figure out what everybody wants for dinner, because my family eat different meals. My sons have completely different meals. My partner is extremely fussy and has a different meal. And then there's me that loves food but feels like there's no point in cooking because I'm just cooking for myself. Well, a nice meal for myself, if that makes sense. So it's very difficult for me to figure out what I'm going to feed everybody sometimes, especially when I'm already in that funny mood. And my partner was standing there while all this was going on saying, so what are we having for tea tonight? What are we doing for this? What are we doing for that? And I was like, why don't you pick, why? And then I just went off the handle. I was like, why is it always me? Can you not think of what you want to eat yourself? I have no problem cooking it, although I really wish you would cook it for me sometimes. It would be really nice. And then I started going off on like a tangent about how he never cooks for me. It's like, it's always me, always, always, always. And if I'm ill, it's takeaway. He won't. As I said to him, it would be nice if one day when you're off work, you cook. Like, you come up to me and say, hey, don't worry about tea tonight, I'm going to do it. And he did take that on board. And for a good month and a half, whenever he's been off, he has cooked or he has bought takeaway. 9 times out of 10, it's been a takeaway, which does not surprise me, but the effort is there, The fact that he listened and he knew that it was getting to me, that I kind of have to do everything for everybody in this house, he made a conscious effort, and I was very, very happy with that. And I said, I couldn't care if you threw a microwave meal in front of me. It's the act of you doing it. It's because he said to me, well, I can't cook. And I was like, okay, but you can learn. And even if you just throw a microwave meal at me, you're showing me that you care. You're showing me that you want to help me. And that is enough for me. I couldn't care if it was beans on toast. I couldn't care if it was a sandwich and a bag of crisps. The fact that you've done it is more to me than anything. So he took that on board, and he has been doing it. So he has been helping, which has been great. And I can't remember what on earth we were talking about that made me get onto that. The living room. Oh yeah. So it went from obviously decorating and all that, and I got really overwhelmed yesterday because not yesterday, the day I'd done it. So yesterday I did the grey. I managed to win the fight with the chicken war on the paint. I managed to have just enough to do them walls. But while I was painting, I decided to message a carpet person. I decided to message somebody about putting the TV on the wall. And I've got someone coming around today about the carpet. And it turns out somebody that is already coming to put the doors on my craft room. Well, it's not going to be the craft room now. It's going to be the living room. But we're getting all new doors downstairs, so they all match the new door that I was having put in. Turns out he can do TVs, so he is going to speak to me about that. when he comes to do the doors on the 2nd of August, I believe, that we agreed on, which is great, because I did message him back and said, I also want to talk to you about some shelving. My partner's not too happy with the price of everything that it's coming to, but I have said to him, look, at the end of the day, we have gone, 14 years now, 13 years of trying to do things cheaply, knowing that the kids are going to ruin it, knowing this and that, knowing that we're going to try and bodge it, you know. I want a room that is done properly this time. Because all through my adulthood of owning a home, we've bodged everything. So it's always been my dad that's put the carpets down, and they've never been cut straight, you know. It's been dodgy repairs that have just got us by. It's been slap and paint on walls and hoping for the best. Nothing has ever been done properly. It's always been, let's get it done as quick as possible, as cheap as possible. So in order for me to have a nice cozy room like he was talking about, and the picture that I have in my head, I'm not going to half-arse it, because I'm not going to spend, you know, 100 odd quid on a door and then have a cheap carpet put in. I want to save up for it, get it done properly, get it done right, so it lasts years and years and years, instead of having to do these jobs every year or every 2 years, because that is what's been happening. I have been bodge jobbing things for years and years and years, but the problem is they don't last. So I've had some wacky ideas when I've been decorating before, and I've done certain things that I regret, you know, like I once ripped up my entire stairs carpet in one day just because I felt like it. This is what I mean by impulsive things. I don't think about the cost of it, I've just done it and then worried about it afterwards. I ripped the carpet up on the stairs a good few years ago now, not in this house, another one, with the intent of putting them stairs runners down, you know, like that strip of carpet. And then I couldn't afford it because the stairs needed a lot of repairs after I ripped it all off, and then I ended up painting them white. Absolutely hating it because it was noisy and dangerous and slippery and dirty. It got messy all the time because it was white, so, you know, what did I expect? And then I think we moved. I don't think I put a carpet back down, but if we'd have stayed there, I would have had to have put a carpet back down. But, you know, all these impulsive things I do, I need to stop and plan and do it properly. So we've decided that we're going to have a games room in there. So we're going to have the TV on the wall. He's going to bring his TV from upstairs down here, because my TV, which is what's in the living room, let me just see if she'll wake up a sec. My TV that I own is the living room telly, and it's like a 32-inch or something like that. But his TV that he bought, that's upstairs, is like a 50. So we have a giant telly in our room, which is too big, because it's too close to the bed. So he's going to put that one in the living room. He's going to bring his PlayStation down. I have decided, to save a little bit of money, I've decided to repaint my TV cabinet, because we had a bit of a discussion about what we wanted in terms of like a media console, and I was going to ask the guy that's fixing the door to make me some floating shelves below the TV. My partner said it's going to cost too much, and I thought, well, you know, to save a bit of money, I'll just buy a tin of furniture paint and paint this old cabinet, because it's solid wood. It's a really good solid piece of furniture, but it's seen better days, so I will paint that. And worst comes to worst, if it doesn't look right, you know, I can save up for a media console. He wants blinds in there instead of curtains, which is fine, but they will be expensive. And then I'm getting a carpet. I want some shelving in there. You know, I want all my collectibles in there if I can fit them, but we'll see. So it'll be nice and cozy in there, and then I will worry about my craft room another day, because not only does the craft room need doing, the kitchen needs painting, the hallway needs painting, and then I need to start upstairs because this whole house needs painting. So I am a little bit overwhelmed with it all, and everything seems to be going too fast. I don't seem to have time for anything right now, but this is why I thought I'd sit and stitch now, and I actually feel better for it. I've done, while I've been sitting here talking to you, oh, the cat's awake, 326 stitches. Now that's not bad. That is not bad. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. I've got to take the cat to the vets today. I have got the carpet man coming, and I need to paint some woodwork. So I will let you go. Thank you very much for listening to me ramble on. I really enjoyed this like impromptu stitch with me. I will have to do this more often. Now I've got a nice little seat in here and a door for now. Well, I'm going to be getting a better door soon, but you know, I have a door now, so we can do them a lot more often. And maybe sometime soon we can do like a live. I would love that so much. Yeah, we'll worry about that another day. Right, bye guys.